Seemingly one of the worst fates to befall a child here on Earth is to become stricken with childhood cancer. It's expensive, incredibly stressful, and puts a large strain on the entire family and extended social circle. It's difficult to make sense of for those on the inside of the situation, always raising the common question: why? Despite the often grim outlook, one thread that binds many of these childhood cancer cases is the undefinable strength, perseverance, and willpower that these children carry within them. As the storm that is childhood cancer rages on throughout their lives, these children often stand optimistically firm amongst the unknown, a beacon of hope despite their unfortunate circumstances. As those lights go on to shine into the lives around them, they have the ability to impact these souls on a level that they would never otherwise experience. All perspectives that surround the cancer stricken child see a slightly different picture, but the core of the experience remains the same: a very rare opportunity for tremendous soul growth. Hey, what's going on, friends? Welcome back to Cosmic Hypnosis. I'm Bob, a hypnotherapist, Andromedan starseed, and ET contactee. Today we're taking a look at a Q&A segment from a QHHT session recorded on October 2nd, 2022, where we ask my higher self, why do children get childhood cancer? It's a difficult burden to carry, but that is what these souls came to Earth to do. Let me know in the comments a time when you encountered one of these incredible souls, and let's celebrate the impact that they have made in our lives. Thanks to them, we will never be the same. There's no more beautiful a gift, a life for a lesson. Enjoy.
So, souls, let's say they're in, well, they're not in a current incarnation. Where are they? Are they, like, could you compare it to like being like backstage at a, before you go out on stage for a dance or something? Where are they hanging out? Do they return to source in between?
Um, see how the best way I could describe this. Give me a minute. After you die, you go through a life review process. And so you see your life back and you see the times that you really influenced other people and did you spread your good, and the times that you didn't do so good, and you feel, how you made people feel good, you feel how you made people feel bad. You really review the choices that you made with other beings, and they help you kind of look back on your life and really evaluate yourself, because everybody sets up things that they want to accomplish in their lifetimes, and then they hope to accomplish, or lessons they hope to address, or situations they hope arise. And you need to look at it from, well, yeah, you need to look at it from the other side. Like, your soul wants to learn these hard lessons so that it can have that soul growth, so that once you learn these lessons, you can grow as a soul and become more loving and more accepting and more open, and just really understanding more experiences. And like, until you're put in these experiences, it's very hard to learn from them. And so, for example, a question that Bob has on this list later: why do some children die of childhood cancer or struggle? Well, that's a very traumatic experience, I would agree. But you have to look at it from the perspective of us all being infinite beings. Your soul never dies. Your physical vessel will die, but you're not your soul. And so there are very advanced souls that incarnate on Earth and other planets, and they take on this huge responsibility. And so they may incarnate into a family where, you know, they have childhood cancer and their parents are struggling, and they might have a brother or sister or people around them, or a pastor or a doctor or a nurse or a chaplain, or somebody at the funeral home, or somebody walking on the street, or a mom who walks by their hospital room, or somebody their dad talks to at work, or somebody their mom met at coffee on in the lobby downstairs while she was taking a 5-minute break. That, oh, my daughter's upstairs and she's going through this stuff. And you have no idea the impact you have on other people. You have no idea. No idea. Just Bob looking back to when he was sick, there were times where people would look at him and say, like, I have no clue how you are this optimistic. The alternative is death. Well, Bob's a fighter, so he kept fighting. And through those experiences, Bob was able to really touch people that came into his life, nurses, and they went at home and told their significant others oh, I met this guy today, and you'd never believe like the outlook he has and blah, blah, blah. Bob has people on his friends list on Facebook, and while he doesn't have a Facebook and hasn't had one for years, he's still got friends on there that there's people he's met along the way that really like resonated with him. And well, that's not the topic we're talking about here, but that works in much the same way. These children that incarnate into these families, yes, some of them struggle with the diagnosis, and that's only natural. But a lot of these kids that die of childhood cancer are like some of the strongest people you'd ever come across. Bob's getting emotional right now because he recalls this time where he was in intensive care. Well, it's kind of like intensive care, but it wasn't. And anyway, he was on this floor, and there was a young kid that was 21, and he had cancer, and it was really bad, and it didn't look like he was going to have a great outcome. And Bob still remembers that to this day, and he often wonders about that guy. And Bob didn't ever catch his name because Bob was dying himself, but at the time he was, at least. And so and Bob was able to fight through it, but they had much different circumstances. But yeah, it's to affect the family on a deep level. You just don't know, and it could be as simple as a conversation, or it really varies. There's an excerpt from a book that Bob has read where there is a homeless man on the sidewalk, and every day uh, uh, a well-off businessman comes by and sees this guy on the sidewalk. Well, and they'd have an interaction where sometimes this guy would give him like a sandwich, or just interact with him. Well, you know when you walk by homeless people on the street, a lot of people say, you know what's this, that, oh, they might stay away from them, or keep their distance, or look at them like they're bad people or something. But they're just people, man. They're just people out here trying to do their best. And anyway, the book went on to explain that the businessman was affected on an extremely deep level, and that this was a highly advanced soul that incarnated to become an alcoholic on the side of the road, with the sole intention of impacting this businessman, because it would affect him so deeply that his soul would grow and change him in ways that otherwise he would not have grown. And so these two beings made a soul contract on the other side. And a lot of that happens. And so we're kind of answering two questions at the same time here: the sense of people who have rough lives, and what it's like on the other side. But yeah, people often incarnate on Earth and other places with difficult things, but so that they can learn and grow, because the point of being on Earth is to learn and grow. And Earth is, like it's a 3D planet where there's a lot of there's duality. So there's love and hate, and there's good and bad. And you try to do the best you can out there, and you have to do it despite people working against you. And you see a lot of things, and it's kind of like a spectrum. But anyway, so yeah, after you die, you review your life, and you're kind of in this like waiting area where you kind of heal, and you kind of like, regroup and review. And yeah, I did well here, I didn't do well there, like we said. And then, you might hook up with some other souls on the other side, and, kind of talk. And it's really, I guess, kind of like, you would describe heaven, except the only difference is that at the end, you make your plans, you write them, you check them twice, and you make your plan to come back, or wherever you're going. And then when it's time, you incarnate there, and you live out your life again. And that's kind of like a waiting area until you come back.
So is Earth chosen mostly because it is three-dimensional and the opportunities are greater?
The opportunities for growth here are exponential. People can grow on Earth much faster than they can in other places. For example, Andromeda is a very loving and supporting place. You're not going to have a lot of that duality on Andromeda. You're going to have none of it. It's not a 3D place. And so, like, there's other planets out there also. But yeah, you incarnate onto Earth, and it's through this adversity that you grow. You never like are forced to learn lessons in times of prosperity and like, oh, I really went through this stuff and really had to examine things and really, you know, look into my core values and belief systems, as everything is great around me, or like as nobody is challenging me, or as nobody is questioning me. No, when everybody's rooting for you, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, well that makes sense. Well, but it's not like that here. And so, like for example, we'll go back to Bob. Bob and Brent have a very contentious relationship. Well, if Bob chooses to, which he has, Bob has chosen to grow from that relationship. So Bob has seen a couple of his inadequacies where, like, well, I'm a little too nice here and I let people run over me. And so I need to stand up for myself in this way. When people get into my circle, maybe I show them too much respect and don't, check them here and there. And that, whereas Brent could have learned a couple lessons that he chose not to learn. And so, and that's not the only lesson Bob has learned, but it's just one example. And so you have people like that relationship, for example, gives you the ability to grow if you choose to take it, but it's whether or not you notice these things to grow. Whereas most people just run into a contentious relationship like that and is like, wow, what an asshole. I'm not going to deal with that. Fuck that guy. And then you just talk shit about them and then you move on with your life. Did you grow? No. You didn't learn anything about yourself. You didn't learn anything about them. You didn't learn anything about love. You didn't learn anything about acceptance. You didn't learn anything about, empathy. What are they going through? What are you going through? There's levels to every relationship and every situation. There's my opinion, your opinion, the truth. There's lenses people look at things through. There's a lot of different things at play in everything. And that's just one relationship we're talking about in this example. And so, at the end of the day, though, yeah, Earth is a very, very, I don't know if I don't know if advanced is the right word, but there's a lot of room for growth here if you put in the work. It's a school that's very hard, and souls line up to come here because it's difficult and because you can make these leaps in your growth, but and then the problem, like we said earlier, is that the veil comes down and you don't really have the recall. And so you kind of have to shake yourself awake in this lifetime. And then once you shake yourself awake enough to really start analyzing your situations, you need to take those situations and really start to apply them. It's not enough to just notice them. You have to put in the work. And then once you put in the work, you have to have some humility and be like, yeah, you know what? I have to improve or change, like we said before. But you can't necessarily do that when you're in a defensive state. So, like Bob and Brent, for example. Well, if one of them is just in a combative, con- you know, angry headspace, well, who wants to grow when they just want to punch their friend out, right? Well, it's all about frame of mind, and you really have to put yourself in these positions, and you really have to orient yourself as somebody who wants to make these changes. If you do, you'll make monumental changes. You'll grow as a soul on a significant level. You will leave Earth at the end of the day when your life is over, and you will say, wow, I learned a lot here. I did great. Let's make some new plans. Let's move on to the next lessons. And for those of you who don't choose to learn these lessons and move on and apply yourselves here, that's fine too. You'll have the opportunity in your future lifetimes to recall, go through a lot of these situations again. You'll be able to live and experience this growth, whether it be in this lifetime or future lifetimes. And it's just a matter of whether you want to learn it now or later. And you can learn it later if you want. That's fine. You're going to learn it eventually, whether it be here or elsewhere. Well, it's up to you if you want to learn it elsewhere. But our suggestion is that you start to apply your lessons and decide to learn it here because it's much easier to learn it the first time. Well, easy is a might not be the right word, but we suggest that you learn it the first time because it gets harder as you ignore the lessons. They will become harder and they will become more obvious and they will punch you in the face a lot harder. So, as soon as you can recognize your avenues for change and growth, we recommend that you take them. That's what Bob has been trying to do in this lifetime, and it has allowed him for exponential growth.
Okay, so is there an end goal for souls then? Besides just if
There
they
is
learn all their lessons, what's their goal?
learning. You're never done learning. There's always things to learn. When souls make it back to source, they turn back. They turn back and help other souls make it to source.
As always, a big thanks to our patrons for your ongoing support of the channel, allowing us to do this work, and to you for checking out our content. To hear more of our work, check out the various playlists here on the channel, and head over to our Patreon for the stuff that we can't release publicly on YouTube, as well as for membership tiers with discounts on your next online session with us. If you're interested in finding your purpose for incarnating on Earth, where your soul comes from, how you can best navigate your life, and hearing ideal advice by you, for you, check out the links in the description for booking an online session with Alysse or myself today. We look forward to learning and growing with you. I'll talk to you in the comments and see you in the next one.